www.dacovering.com/income-disclosure for details and the most up-to-date information. Earnings depend on many factors, including customer base, business experience, effort, dedication, and quality and performance of the downline sales team. Enjoy the following message.
Hello, Warren Fry coming at you, and excited to share about a topic called finding your passion and discovering what truly motivates you. This is a very interesting topic, I feel, and this is what separates people that go down the entrepreneur road or people that settle, in my opinion, for a career that is basically laid out for you. We learned something the other day, and it was talked about a job opportunity, which is almost something that doesn't make sense. There is really not a lot of opportunity in a job based on how you look at it. Entrepreneurs are looking to create and do things to put themselves in better positions. I've always learned that business owners typically make more money than an employee. Why? Well, they have a better opportunity to scale something that they're truly passionate about. So you're now on the journey of being an entrepreneur. You are the CEO of your company. You need to understand that this is self-motivation. And what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, you've got to identify what is it that you want. The thing for Vanessa and I that always attracted us to this business, it wasn't network marketing, it wasn't Amway, it was literally how we made money here. And we were always passionate about being able to help people and build people, which will then be effective at building businesses. Unfortunately, society does not want you to succeed, or our friends or some of the closest relationships that we have, because as we succeed in certain areas of our life, it typically points out certain failures in theirs. So it's very easy for a group of friends to say, oh man, stop, keep coming with us to this event or that event or the bar or a club or a baseball game. But you say, hey, I have different goals, I have different dreams, and I want to go down a different path. It's going to take some guts to be able to do that. But if you know why you're doing it, you're going to go after it. And that's the biggest thing. So you've got to identify your why. Put it up on a board, put it in your car, put it in your calendar. If someone was to come to your home, would you be convicted of having a dream, of having a big goal? Any successful person, whether it's in sports or business or anything, had things up on their wall or written down that they wanted to go after. What we see is that a lot of people don't necessarily believe they're worth more than what they've been handed to or what they saw growing up. And there was something that was done. They ran an article, or they ran a job ad, and they had some wording in there, and it put $50,000 salary. Very similar type job, tweaked a few words, put $100,000 salary, and 80% of people applied for the $50,000 salary versus the other 20% applied for the 100, which tells you that most people don't believe they're worth more than the average person. That's not you, right? You've gone through a vetting process. You've gone after a coach or a mentor. You're now getting yourself dialed in to now start to move yourself in that right direction. You've got to remember why you went after this partnership. You need to draw a line in the sand. Unfortunately, success is not just about making money today. It's in multiple areas of your life, right? Yeah, finances are obviously important, but maybe you come from a family that's got great finances and you've done well, but there's been a lot of relationship issues, kind of similar to where my background came from. I saw my dad do very, very well, make a lot of money running a family conventional business, but between my wife and I's parents, our moms and our dads, is 8 divorces. So we had to draw a line in the sand and say, all right, we knew what we didn't want, but why were we here? What did we want our relationships in our life to actually look like? And then we started to go after that and move ourselves in that direction. Very, very important statement. Motivated, people are typically motivated to do something, but then inspired to become something. Think about what that means. You're motivated to then do something, right? Whatever that goal is, but you should be inspired to become something, right? The biggest victory in my wife and I's life is not our money or the time that we've created, but it's our marriage because of the background that we came from. And that's what we wanted to go after. I knew I'd make money, but what would my relationship look like with my significant other, with my kids as well? You need to expect to win in the game of life, right? Two of the biggest areas of our life are relationships and finances. And I always typically ask people, where do you get that information from? Right? Are you getting proper information from Google, from social media, from parents? I think everybody, wants. I think parents always want what's best for us, but they don't necessarily know what's best for us these days because things are changing at such a rapid rate. And going after that why every single day is what's going to keep you grounded in this business, because it's not always going to be easy. Any successful athlete that steps up, a baseball player that steps up to the mound that's getting booed or was in a rut for a period of time, how does he get himself out of that slump? Well, he knows why he got into baseball. He knows the work that he's put in, and he believes in himself, or he believes in his coach, to know that if he just stays on the path that he's on, he's going to get himself out of that slump. You talked yourself into this business. Don't start talking yourself out of the business, right? Words are so important today, right? You need to write down why you're doing this. What do you want this year, next year, 5 years from now? And start to believe it. We used to hear from a very successful mentor. He says, act as if it were. Write down what is it that you want, not what you have, but what you want, not where you are, but where you're going. Because if you wake up and you tell yourself that you're tired, you're going to feel more tired. If you wake up and you start thinking about all the debt that you have and starting to harp on it, well, it's going to be a very miserable day because that's all you're thinking about. But if you're talking about opportunity and who you're accessing and the work and the result that they've created, knowing that if you stick to the path, you should end up in the same area that they are as well. Because you are who you associate with today. It's proven, right? Growing up as a kid, my mom would say, show me your 5 friends, and you are who you hang out with. Well, as an adult, if you take the 5 friends that you log the most hours with, find out their income, find out their relationship status, find out their hobbies, it's probably very similar to yours in terms of what they do and who they hang out with and the money they make, right? So it's very, very important to know why you're doing this, because it's not always going to be easy. You've got to default back to, all right, if I don't build this asset, well, what would my life look like? And one of the biggest things that I saw when I got into partnership 22 years ago was the peace of mind on my coaches' faces. I was following a path of, conventional business, and I had never seen anything that I saw getting into business here. Like I said, it was how money was made. Being able to put in the time to go out and build people, which then builds businesses, a lot of security in that. And I love that because those people have their dreams and their goals attached to the same passions that maybe you have, and working together in the right direction is going to put yourself in that arena to win. Not always going to be the easiest. You're going to have people that are going to be throwing stones at you, which we hear. And, I did a talk on the app called How to Handle the Critics. I recommend listening to it. And it'll start to give you some perspective as to maybe why certain people may laugh at you, why certain people are going to put you down. But if you ultimately know what you're here for, you're going to go right through it. And here's the thing I can probably promise, because my coach has said that to us and we've seen it happen, is some of the ones that gave you the hardest time about this will then probably become your biggest cheerleaders. And you've got to just grind it out and believe that that's what's going to happen. So I challenge you, make sure you stick to the goal, stick to your dreams. It's about being motivated to do something and inspired to become something. Hopefully that'll help.
This is a copyrighted program of The Collective, powered by Markham